So a small company called Amazon just released a new code editor with a twist, and they aim to replace vibe coding with a different approach, which I think you should really pay attention to. It's an approach that I've been talking about for over a year and I cover heavily in my builder community at switchdimension.com. So in this video, we'll take a look at Kiro, a brand new IDE, and see if it's worth your attention. And even if you don't decide to use it, the principles it teaches are really valuable to anyone who wants to learn how to build apps using AI. So Kiro are taking a different approach to AI development by heavily focusing on spec-driven development. So this is pretty cool in my opinion and shows the evolution of AI development from vibe coding to this new spec-driven development and validation. A quick thank you to TestSprite for making this video possible, more on them later. Let's get stuck in. You can download Kiro at kiro.dev and you can download it for Windows, Linux and Apple, both Silicon and Intel at the moment. So Kiro is a fork of VS Code. So that means that anyone who's used to using Cursor or Windsurf or VS Code is going to be very familiar with the interface. But what Kiro is doing differently is heavily focusing on this idea of spec-driven development, and it's very much integrated into their workflow. In comparison, if you're vibe coding, you're not using a planning system, you're basically just dropping in prompts and moving forward without a plan. Spec-driven development is more based on creating the plan first and then following the plan, or having your agent following the plan. And what Kiro does well is actually help update and move the plan forward. We've seen something similar as well from Claude Code. Claude Code has a plan mode, and then also Cursor, another popular editor we cover quite a bit, has got its own to-do mode baked in as well. So the other cool thing that is being introduced in Kiro is agent hooks. So essentially you can delegate tasks, you can figure out when those tasks are finished, you can trigger new tasks. This is very similar to the hooks or Claude hooks that were introduced in Claude Code. So you could use these hooks to generate new documentation when you finished creating a feature or writing unit tests or optimizing code performance, lots of different things like that. Kiro comes with MCP support out of the box, and it seems to have all the common features that we've seen in Cursor and Windsurf in terms of adding documentation, having autopilot, and being able to create rules, etc. So right now it's in preview, so it's pretty much free. There are rate limits in place, but they're saying if you're using it for typical development, you're not going to hit those limits. So we'll see how this pans out. And then we can see here the pricing that's going to be coming soon. So they're basing it on the idea of interactions. So it's not exactly clear to me what an interaction is, but I presume that is basically a request to a model. In terms of model selection, they have Claude 4 and Claude 3.7 at launch, and they're saying there's more options coming soon. When they say more options coming soon in terms of models, I really hope they mean other model providers, not just Anthropic. I want to be able to choose between Gemini 2.5 or O3 when I'm doing planning, or maybe I want to switch to some cheaper models like DeepSeek when I want to do other different tasks. I don't want to be tied to a specific model like I am in Claude Code. So the minute you open Kiro, it'll be very familiar. It's basically a VS Code fork. It looks very similar to VS Code, Cursor, Windsurf. So with the vibe approach, you basically do your chatting and then you build. And with the spec approach, you get it to create a plan. You create out requirements, design documents, etc. This is the kind of stuff I've been talking about in my channel for almost a year. And then it goes ahead and builds based on that spec. So there's a time for both of these scenarios. Now, it's not like Kiro are bringing anything revolutionary to the game here. If you look over here on the left-hand side, the idea of specs is just a set of requirements documents or a PRD doc. We've been doing that in AI-driven development for a long time. Agent hooks is the ability to trigger different smart actions, and we have that with Claude Code. Agent steering essentially is the equivalent of memories in Windsurf and also Cursor, or writing rules essentially. These are just system prompts to guide your AI to work in a particular way. And then MCP servers, of course, most of these IDEs have those as well. I just think what Kiro are doing here is taking a very opinionated view on how software might be developed. I actually like this idea of spec-driven development or context engineering so much that it's the focus of an app I'm building at the moment called MoltenBase. You can visit it at moltenbase.com and you can join the waitlist. And what I want to do in this video is use Kiro to see if we can quickly add a blog to MoltenBase. So I've opened that project, and basically it's a simple Next.js application with NeonDB for the database and Prisma to connect to that database. I'm also using Tailwind and ShadCN just to style it and make it look good. So in AI development, whenever you're starting a new project or using AI with a new project, you want it to initialize first. And in Claude Code, we do that with a simple /init command. In Cursor, it goes and indexes your code base. And here what we do in Kiro is we set up our agent steering. We generate these steering docs. So what that will do is go ahead and run through your existing file base to get an understanding of it to provide these docs. So let's just click on this button. Over here on the left, it's gone and created these steering documents. We have the product MD, the structure MD, and the tech MD. So this document approach is very similar to one I covered in this video, where I go through setting up a product requirements doc UX design and a software design doc MD. So very similar to that setup. So our product MD has core values, target users, key features. Our project structure has our root directory, our app directory, different component directories, utilities, database, etc. This is really important to help the AI decide how to build going forward and keep to your conventions rather than coming up with a whole new pattern for developing your app that causes you trouble later on. So I really like the simplicity of the interface here. It is really friendly and it's very familiar if you are a Cursor or Windsurf user. We have all the similar type of user patterns here. We can revert or go back to a checkpoint if we don't like what was done here. We can add context by hitting this little hash icon here. We can add in code base files, docs, etc. And we can also add in images if we want. Now, from what I can see, it doesn't appear to have any kind of tab-based editing. So in Cursor, whenever I hit tab, I get these auto completions that come up. To be honest, I don't use it a whole lot because I'm not actually writing the code. I'm using the agent to generate the code, but it's worth knowing that if you do like the tab feature. But you can highlight the code and hit Command L or Control L to add it to your chat. Or if I hit Command I can perform edits inline. So let's go ahead and create a feature branch. Go up here in the source control tab, hit this button, and we're going to hit branch and create branch. And then we're going to give it a name of blog and then hit return. So now you'll see over here on the left-hand side, we're now in the blog. And if I hit git branch here, you'll see that there is multiple different branches and we're currently operating in the blog branch. So I can now work away with AI in this branch, and if anything goes wrong, I can always go back to my main branch. Okay, starting a new session, and then I'm going to click the spec here, and then we're going to enter the input here. If you follow any AI development best practices from the big guys like Google and Anthropic, they all recommend writing test for your apps to make sure that they stay on track. So that's where today's sponsor TestSprite comes in, and it's a tool I've followed since their successful product hunt launch that continues delivering excellent features. So TestSprite keeps your AI development on track by ensuring tools like Cursor, Claude, and now Kiro build the right features that don't break. So what's even cooler is TestSprite have just today launched a new MCP that you can plug into Cursor or any other tool like that, and you can watch the demo here. Essentially, it's going to be a big boost to your coding accuracy by being able to read your specs, generating tests, then running those, and then from the outcomes give feedback back to Cursor about what it needs to fix. So you can see over here, I've got TestSprite connected. So the MCP server will go ahead and generate code summaries. It'll develop a full-on front-end test plan for your application. So this isn't just about running tests locally. They can be run in remote cloud environments. So you can have these run as part of your development workflow, or you can have them run on a continuous basis on some kind of a schedule. This is huge peace of mind to make sure that your app is up and running the way it should be 24/7. I highly recommend you check out TestSprite. Check out the link in the description of this video and you'll get an exclusive limited time offer for 1 month of free usage. So I've dropped a prompt in here. You can just pause the video if you want to take a look and break that down. But the key thing here is I'm going to use the Pexels MCP. So Pexels is a image library website. And when we generate a blog post, I'd like to use an existing image just to make the site look a whole lot better when we're putting out posts. So I'm just going to hit return here and let's see how we go. Okay, it took about 15 seconds. Up here, we now have a specs document. So it says this feature adds a complete blog system. Here are the requirements. So it breaks it down into user stories, which is really helpful. It includes acceptance criteria. So it's important to review the features and review the requirements to make sure you're happy before you proceed. So you could actually edit this before you move forward. And you can see up here in the top, it has us in the requirement stage, and then it'll move to the design and the task list, and they're currently empty. If we look down here on the right, we have this requirement to move to the design phase if we're happy. So before we do that, I'm just going to add in MCPs to make sure that MCPs work okay here. So let's just click on this button. So very easy to add MCPs, just like Cursor or Claude. It's just a JSON file, and you can see down here on the left-hand side, we have Pexel's MCP server and TestSprite connected. Those are the two MCPs that I've added in there. So I'm happy with the updated design doc, and I'm going to move to implementation plan down here on the right. Okay, so now it's given us the task list. Set up markdown processing, create content directory structure, blog data fetching, etc. I'm kind of happy enough, having read through all of these, that these are exactly what I want. So I'm just going to go and hit finalize task list. So now with our requirements doc, our design doc, and our task list set up, I think we're pretty much ready to go. Just one other step that I want to show you, something that's pretty cool. So Kiro has something built in called agent hooks. So this hook system in Kiro feels a lot like a crossover between Claude Code hooks and then rules or memories in Windsurf. Essentially, an event will happen, a prompt can be sent to an agent for something to happen, and then an update happens. So in this case, I'm going to set up this hook here to review changes so that every time I save a file, that it reviews those changed file for potential security issues. It's kind of like a security backup. Now, when you hit return here, it is actually using the agent to create this hook. So I assume you could actually just prompt the agent to create a hook for you whenever you needed it. Over here on the left, we have the vulnerability scanner, and it's basically got what it is, a description of what it does, when it's triggered, and instructions to carry out. Okay, so to proceed with our task list, I just go here to our task MD here in the blog system, and I just hit start task. As it runs through implementation, you can see task in progress here, and in the right hand side, it's giving me the commands that it wants to run. I have the ability to modify that command, reject it, trust that command and accept it, or just accept the one command. So you can see up here a feature which is the task list, and it's showing me that it's got the first task in play and it's got a task in queue, which is the hook for checking the security vulnerability. So I got this other error, the service experiencing a high load. So I doubt it's that Claude is experiencing a high load. It's whatever service or server that the Kiro team is running Claude through is probably being rate limited in some way. It also makes you think about how powerful is the version of Claude 4 Sonnet that's being used here. Is the full context being set? Are we getting the full capabilities of the model, or is it a nerfed version as we've seen happen in other tools? Okay, to get around the rate limits, I switched over to Claude 3.7 and we're going to proceed with that model. And over here, I'm going to hit start task. As we move through the task implementation here, I do really like this approach, because when we're vibe coding, particularly when we're using models like Claude that can be enthusiastic, they'll jump ahead and start to do things that kind of throw us off track or throw the project off track. At least with this step-by-step approach, we're verifying each step to make sure that it's correct before moving to the next. And it's also planning it appropriately in the right way. So we're doing our setup before we do anything else. And this is the proper way to approach software development. Another cool thing that I haven't seen in Cursor or Windsurf, and if somebody has seen it or knows how to implement it, correct me if I'm wrong and help me out. But I love this little bar here on the right hand side of the terminal, which shows where the errors are appearing and where the successful commands are. So typically what I need to do is find errors that are happening in the terminal to send them over to the chat model to correct. So I could see very quickly here that this is an error, and I can highlight it and add it to the chat. So most of the tasks have been run through. I'm getting one error saying that use state needs to be set for a particular component. So I basically just copy and pasted the error straight into Kiro, and let's see what it comes back with. And it seems to be fixing that appropriately. Once that was solved, we've got a secondary error just around a invalid source prop. That seems straightforward enough, so I'm just going to pass that one in as well. And we can see here now that we've run our task that our security vulnerability scanning hook is running, and it's running a review on all the different files here on the right hand side. Now these hooks could be set up for absolutely anything, and if you take a look at the documentation for Kiro, it gives you some good examples of what you can use it for. So if we take a look at the output from Kiro and Claude 3.7, mostly in this case, we have a nice blog set up with markdown based files. I can click on any given blog and it gives me an individual blog with a slug set up for each of the names, which is good for SEO. And it's actually gone and written those blog posts for me. It's pulled in images from Pexels and it's done the attribution there as well, which is great. What I did find with this process is it just took that bit longer to complete. So I think if I was running this in Cursor in agent mode, or if I was running this in Claude code, it probably would have completed in a much faster time. So that's just one thing. It just did take a little bit longer for everything to work, and I had to do a lot more hand holding. But if you're dealing with features that you want to add to an established code base, you want to make sure that everything is done step by step and you want to check off the process as it goes, I think this is the better option, and spec-driven development really kind of is the way forward. So final thoughts on Kiro. I'm actually quite impressed. So this is just the preview version, but I really like the interface. It's simple. I like the planning approach, this idea of spec-driven development, and I like that it's all baked directly into the IDE. Now, you could achieve this simply with writing your own rules files, creating your own hooks, and adding in your own third-party plugins. But I just like the way this is kind of seamlessly baked in and you don't need to do a lot of setup. I love this sidebar here on the left-hand side, which kind of has your main specs, your hooks, your agent steering, and your MCP servers. Now, this isn't something we can't achieve in Claude Code. It's something we can also achieve in Cursor. But having a new tool and a new IDE on the market that's a fork of VS Code, so it's going to be easy for us to use. It didn't take me long to switch mentally from using Cursor to using this tool. It's heavily supported by Amazon. I really like some of the terminal implementations here. It's got MCPs, it's got everything I would kind of need. The things that I am missing is I'd like to see more models involved. I'd like to understand how much of the model we're actually using. Are we using the full context ability of a model as we would be in Claude Code, or are we getting a kind of reduced context window as we might be in a tool like Cursor that's not set in max mode? All in all, a really great start from Kiro, and at the moment it's giving you free access to the Claude model series. So I would say get stuck in. So if you like the idea of spec-driven development, I highly recommend you check out some of my other videos, particularly this one here, Master AI App Development Without the Frustration. See you in the next one.